Welcome everyone to the Sumer Sports Show. We got a very special edition of a NFL team auction draft coming today. Before I get into the rules, just waiting for some more people to jump in the live stream here. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. We had a fun time in Vegas last week. It was enjoyable. It was your first trip out to the desert, and it was a lot of fun. But now I just can't wait till football season. I'm glad you guys all set it up and allowed me to come in and possibly add some inefficiency to the market.
Yeah, it was it was mostly Udit and Savanj setting this up here. They've done something like this before, and so I mean we can explain the rules in a minute here. But Udit, Savanj, I want to hear from you guys like why you kind of came up or how you were able to come up with this idea of doing an NFL team auction draft, and then like what your past experience with it has led you to before.
Yeah, so for me, like, I mean, of course, Mina Kimes has been doing this for a few years now, and this was one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. Like, I feel like, as the NFL season starts gearing up, we listen to division previews and team previews and hot takes, and like, we get a pretty good grasp of like what different people think about different teams on the internet. And I guess I've worked in sports teams or sports adjacent for a while to the point where I can't really bet on any of these teams myself. Plus, I'm in a state where I can't bet. So for me, like getting together with a few of my sharp friends and like trying to price out the markets and like putting numbers to what we believe actual outcomes are, since we always like talk, in our group chats all the time, like, oh, I think the Browns are going to do this year. I think the Lions are going to be here. But pricing it out relative to each other is like how we can actually stamp our like, this is what we actually believe with the number associated with it, which gives me a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always been fun. I feel like Uda and I have this like group chat where we chat with our friends, these people who've done this draft for the past couple of years, where this was kind of an opportunity for us to put our fake money where our mouth is. And even though like, in a theoretical standpoint, it's probably best to keep our strategies to ourselves during the draft, we always catch ourselves like unable to help ourselves but explain like, oh no, I think you made a wrong move with our strategy. So I think we're just like all really into the joy of just kind of figuring out how to game the market best.
Yeah, for sure. And Doug Analytics mentions need Sam Hoppin to keep track of the score here. Sam does a great job for Mina's show that this is inspired by, like Udit mentioned, keeping track of the score for that. Udit put together a really nice spreadsheet for us that we'll show at the end of this draft here for our scoring system and how that works. So let's jump into the rules here. So we are going to be having a $200 auction budget. We're going to be drafting on Sleeper, and Eric will share his screen for that for the people watching live and watching on YouTube, and then it'll still make sense in the audio formats if you're listening to this without watching it on YouTube or another type of platform here. But $200, we're each going to be drafting 8 teams, and it'll be like an auction draft where we're drafting the team defenses on Sleeper, but we're actually taking the actual team in real life. You're going to get 1 point for every win that the teams that you draft have. 5 points if they make the playoffs, 5 points if they win the division, and then you're going to get 10 points if they make the Super Bowl and 5 points for the Super Bowl champion. So that's how the scoring system works. And then we're also getting our expected scores and our expected bids from the sumersports.com league table that Eric has up here that he's going to show, where you can kind of see where we're deriving some of our expected scores from for these teams. So for example, the Kansas City Chiefs are expected to have the most points here. They're expected to have 24.4 points based on that scoring system that I just laid out, which means that we would recommend the bid of $48 of your $200 budget for the Chiefs.
Yeah, there's a few updates we've made to the simulation as well, just to keep everybody on their toes, which is kind of nice. So that's I think going to add a little bit of a wrinkle here. We have had some updates after rosters have changed a little bit, but still should be pretty cool. Do we want to fire up Sleeper then here, Tej?
Yeah, we can start the draft.
Let's fire this thing up, and I have to pick the first team, right?
Yeah, you're nominating.
All right, my turn to nominate. I'm going to, seeing all of you guys, I'm going to nominate Seattle.
So Seattle has a expected bid of $22 here. So let's see what ends up happening with the Seahawks this year. I think the thing about the Seahawks is the JSN injury.
Wait,
makes...
Eric, you have to click the nominate button by starting.
Oh, I see. Oh, got it. Okay.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm a huge
Nick of
boomer,
time.
guys. You guys have to understand, among this group, I might seem young in real life, but I'm the boomer of this group here.
So
Okay, looks like
yeah,
bids are coming in.
Eric, how are you feeling about the Seahawks like receiver core with JSN not being healthy for the first couple of weeks?
I mean, I like Seattle generally, but the receiving core, yeah, as everybody that's watched us, you know, as anybody that's watched us do best ball, like we have a lot of Metcalf, we have a lot of Lockett. I think JSN's more of a complementary piece on this team, at least initially. So I'm like bullish on Seattle generally. JSN specifically, I think he'll be good. I don't know if I necessarily bet him over on any props or you know, or take him in fantasy necessarily.
He got back from the injury pretty quickly. He's already at practice. Interestingly enough.
Are you gonna
Yeah,
let me have him?
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh,
Working through it. Yeah, it's this weird thing where it's like, you know, I think we're all pretty high on their offense. It's their defense still has a decent amount of uncertainty to it.
Can they rush the passer? Is Jamal Adams enough to supplement what was kind of a crappy passer?
Is Jamal Adams still Jamal Adams? You know, he's not played for a while.
All right, Uda gets the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, I think I'm a little bit down on the 49ers relative to where the market's at, and I think that's going into me being a little bit higher on the Seahawks. We know the Cardinals, you know, who the Cardinals are at, so to me, I feel pretty comfortable with this.
yeah. I
Oh.
mean, I think like Seattle has made a lot of improvements this offseason. Maybe like relative to San Francisco. The only thing is like it's hard for me to escape like what San Francisco did to Seattle in those 3 games that they played last year, where like it looked like Kyle Shanahan really had Pete Carroll's number on defense. So maybe like Devin Witherspoon coming in helps change that. But it was pretty rough for Seattle's defense last year.
By the way, for anybody that's looking at the screen here, so firstly, Udit Ranazaria got Seattle with a bid of $23. If you are looking at this live, Tej Seth's name is Tej Seth. Suvanch's name is Suvanch. Udit Ranazaria's name is Udit Rana, and mine is Laplace Football. So I'm the one that doesn't really give any clues to who I am. Interestingly.
The Jets going like pretty significantly below maybe the value right now as the timer is getting down here.
Yeah, so Jets have a suggested bid of 24 right now. They are sitting at 18, and a little bidding battle.
I'm not that high on the Jets this year relative to market, but I will bid them up at least a little bit. Offers right now, or price right now.
I thought I could sneak a bid in at the end, but it resets the
use
clock.
10 seconds. Yeah, everyone has at least 10 seconds to tie.
So Savanch has the highest bid. It looks like Savanch is going to get the Jets at a price of $21. So Aaron Rodgers, his team, last year at this time, if you would have said Aaron Rodgers' team is going to go for a smaller amount than Geno Smith's team, I feel like that would have tipped some people over, I think.
I don't know. I got to say, watching Hard Knocks, that's got to be part of the reason I wanted him.
Savant, you're nominating, by the way.
Oh, I thought I nominated. Oh, okay. Let's see. There we go. Getting used
Okay,
to
so
the web
49ers
super
up
UI.
here. Expected bid of $42.
You know, I've just realized that I
So-
can like go to Eric's screen and like get an idea on like how much he's about to bid before he actually sends it. Maybe I can like do some sniping over here.
I'm like,
Wow.
you're like
Udit with
stealing
the
my
esports
signs at
tips.
second base. Although I forget that Udit doesn't like have the greatest like sports background, so when I talk about baseball, he might not get that. But you're like stealing my signs at second base.
Yeah, I know what second base is, I think.
Hopefully, at your age.
Oh, I see a comment from Vids. He's actually like that fourth friend, me, Jashav, who does our bid, so he knows what he's talking about.
Hey, Vince.
And here's another thing, Eric. If
And then
you
just in terms of
hear Brock Purdy was going to have a higher team bid than either Geno Smith or Aaron Rodgers, I think that would be crazy too. But
I
that's
agree.
the world we
Yeah, I
live.
think it really speaks to the state of the conferences, right? I think we're gonna see that that
Mhm.
theme is like kind of there with the projections and the expected score, where like you kind of see this idea that a lot of teams with mediocre elos have a much higher expected score on the
Yeah.
NFC conference than the
Mhm.
AFC.
Well, that's really why you have to do a simulation, right? Because you have to be able to deal with like the rest different. Like you looked at the NFC East last year, and their schedule is so easy, and then even beyond that, it was like they had easy rest type of situations, and now it's harder for them. You really do have to do a simulation to price that out. There's no escalator for the first overall pick, right?
No, I was thinking about adding like a -5, like for ending up with the first overall pick, but then I think people want to bet negative for the Cardinals because like Tej and I were talking about this recently. They have one of the highest um first pick odds, that we've seen in a long time. And that's if you don't include the fact that they have to pick a Texans pick as well. So if you add those two values, they're like
Mhm.
30% likely to end up with the first overall pick before the season. It's a wild number.
Yeah, we
Wow.
make
30
it like 21% themselves. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And
Yeah.
Houston, I actually think well, I'm not going to give away the game here, but like Houston's the gap between Houston and Arizona's rosters is immense actually, I think,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
crazy.
But
I
even
am a
like
huge
Ozenfort, like the Cardinals GM picking up the Houston first round pick and getting like Houston's first, not Cleveland's first for the Will Anderson trade up, I think was one of the best moves of like the this offseason. But like one move that we'll look back on in hindsight and be like, wow, like getting two possibly top 5 picks in the same draft is like really what can like change your franchise, as Seattle knows, as Detroit knows, having that scenario happen to them like a year ago.
The
yeah.
only issue I have is that they moved back up for a tackle when I think that there were probably 3 or 4 tackles who are kind of in the same equivalence class. But you can't fault them. Okay, Boomer, here, pick a
I'm sure
team.
we're gonna have like a show where we discuss like executive of the year at the end of the year, and I think given how we like likely think the season's gonna play out in the most crazy way, I might like have like Ozenford as like this like weird dark horse candidate for like executing the perfect like tank job, like not even like doing it like on purpose, but just ending up with 2 low elo teams first
Mhm.
round picks is like a really good strategy, and we're gonna see it. I think as the draft trades play out on how insane like I think their value is going to be, and like those draft the draft value charts that come out every year, like I think they're going to have like a tier ahead of the next best team in terms of how much draft capital they're going to have available to them.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think like, I mean, you're talking about executive of the year here, like the Steelers are up. I think Omar Khan with the Steelers could be another one of those people that we look back on at the end of the year as like an executive of the year type. I don't know if like necessarily he'll be the one to win it, but I think like when you see where the Steelers roster has come along, and then like if you're a preseason junkie, like a lot of us are, like how Kenny Pickett is playing and like his connection with Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, I think that Omar Khan could be in the running for that as well.
Yeah, I do think it's kind of funny that we've not mentioned a single Cardinals player yet, though. But it is what it is. That I think that is the state of the roster. I do think Ossenfort also is showing like the Isaiah Simmons trade, like shows to me that he knows what he's doing with like offering like moving guaranteed money off the roster.
So
Who would have
Steelers,
thought the Steelers would be like the Jets like price here? That's kind of crazy to me. I like them short of this number, but that's you guys are battling here. Good for you.
I'm drafting. I had to take them.
This is the thing about the AFC, where it's like a good team that probably would have made the playoffs in the NFC, like the Jets or like the Steelers, is going to be left out more oftentimes than not from those 3 wild card spots, just because like the conference top to bottom is so stacked.
Yeah. I just put a high bid on the Bengals. Piss me off as far as like how like they they just they built their roster kind of pretty well, and it's kind of annoying how robust they are right now.
Yeah, my hot take for the Bengals is that I think their coaching is covering up. I think their defensive coaching is covering up a lot of like their roster construction weaknesses, and like I think Big Lou deserves a lot of credit, more than maybe the league's giving him.
But what would you have done differently than them, Udit? Because like they seem to be drafting, like they draft Miles Murphy 2 years ahead of when they really need him. They get Trey Hendrickson as like the strong link player to rush the passer. They build a secondary they played numbers game in the secondary, and they take the best 5 guys, and that's been pretty effective. Linebacker, they've kind of they haven't spent on a linebacker in years. They've just taken late round draft capital and gotten some players there in Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson. Like, I think that the roster's fine to me as far as building is concerned. And yeah, but I think that the defensive coordinator is always the most important person on a defense anyway. So I think that it's okay.
Yeah, I think I want to be clear. I don't think that they've done a bad job. I think people have given a lot of credit, and to me, it's like I think their run is small. Like I don't see a lot of stuff that's like, oh, that was really sharp. Outside of like, oh, they've drafted well, and to me, that always regresses, or like that often regresses unless you have like a 10-year tenure.
But have they like the draft picks that they've had? Like I've never been like looked at it and been like, oh, they drafted a great player. Burrow, of course, Higgins and Chase, like those were the expected play. They, 5th overall, they had the Sewell Chase decision, right? And that at that point they hadn't won a thing yet, right? And so I think it was bold for them to do that, and then but then Miles, like who cares if it's Miles Murphy or Felix Udeze-Uzama? Like who cares? It's edge player to fill back the edge if somebody else were to leave. Who cares that it's Dax Hill? It was kind of this hybrid safety corner guy to take over for Jesse Bates when he leaves. Like I think it was like it's well planned. To me, it's not even like picking the right players. It's sort of going about it the right way from the perspective of picking premium players high. Past, at value is kind of where I'm seeing it, which I think is sustainable as a strategy. The actual players and how they perform is not, but that you can't control.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's just like I think I was speaking more from like some people are giving them a lot of credit for their drafting, and I'm not sure if I'd go there. Like I think their process is not bad, and the process is good. Oh my God, you just jump it to 54.
So yeah, Eagles are up here.
Just gonna log off here after he picks up all the teams.
Suggested bid of 45, and they're up to 55. Everyone's really hot.
Giving our pal Zach Drabkin a pat on the back here, indirectly by taking his team and buying it up to $60 by the time it's 56, I guess.
So Savant, you have the Jets. Steelers,
okay, so my perspective
Bengals,
on this
and Eagles.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I'm kind of going Midwest here. My perspective is that I think this, now that I've gotten 4 teams, I feel comfortable saying this, but I think Udin and I have talked about this a little bit in the past, so I'm kind of screwing him a little bit by saying this before he gets too many good teams in, but I think the suggested bid is misleading because I don't think the mapping from expected score to bid should be linear. I think the reason is that near the end, you're going to get some free teams. So I think it looks more sigmoidal. So I think it's fine to overbid on the top teams. And I think it's closer to linear near so that kind of factored into my bid there for the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible. I think you either have to. It's barbell, right? You either have to do, kind of what I'm doing and wait, or bid up at the beginning but you always end up with stars and scrubs, right? As at the end, you almost never have like kind of a flat distribution.
Yeah, Savant he knew that me and him had the critical information being experienced, so he decided to do the second order strategy of getting the teams that he wanted early, and then exposing the strategy so I would get screwed over to you guys. So he's like ahead of me.
Got to exploit and then expose, exactly.
Yeah. He's not even letting me keep the secrets.
Is Cleveland?
Yeah.
Look, I think we're all bidding up Cleveland because that's the sexy team this year, as they have been for like 2 decades. But I think that I think 33 is a bit rich, but I did think Page would buy up here.
Well, Yeah, I mean, you guys have all these complicated strategies. My strategy was I wanted to walk out of this draft with Cleveland and one other team that'll come up later. So wanted to make sure that I was getting them here. I mean, you
Eric,
can
you
bid
can
on
click
them.
pass, by the way, if you want to speed this up a little bit. If you're done bidding, you can click the pass button.
I just don't want to. Oh, all of us click pass. We're okay then, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Got it. All right, let's go with our founder, Jack Jones's team, the New York Football Giants here. Tough schedule, but they do play in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got to hit nominate. Sorry, guys. I'm the biggest boomer here. I apologize.
Eric, you see what's happened working at Sumer Sports to Eric. You know, suddenly you can tell the number of times he's been called old at our company.
I know.
It's just
That's
like-
the thing. When I became a math professor at 26, I was the youngest person in my department for 6 straight years. Yeah, even after we hired people, and now both PFF and like Sumer, I'm like the elder statesman, which feels different for sure.
Eric, are you gonna get a team sometime soon? You know,
One
the
of these
Giants will be the
times.
ones leading the.
I want to see the Chiefs get nominated. I want to watch Eric bid on the Chiefs. That's what he's saving all his money for. He just wants to make sure.
Yeah,
he
I am. I do kind of want the Chiefs, but okay, hold on.
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I do agree with that strategy. That I think at the end here, and like this is usually what happens in auction drafts and like fantasy football that I've noticed is people get really excited at the beginning of the draft and they're just like overbidding like the mapping for all the players, and then you can just kind of scoop up some players that like should go for between $5 and $10 for like $1 or $2 at the end of the draft, which maybe it's like supposed to be like that, and like that's like the market strategy, but it's also like when you have a cap on the amount of teams or
you guys
players,
just feel bad for me and give me the Giants here at $11.
Giants at 11.
Got his first team. There's also this interesting dynamic where like now I already have the Eagles, and there's this like intra-divisional, like there's some guaranteed losses there, and then there's only one division title prize. So there's some like negative correlation there. For having
Eric,
the same
last
division.
year, the Giants were the value of the draft. So after the draft was over and after we tabulated scores, I calculated who was the highest score over bid, and they were the highest by far because they went like for under $5 because they were projected bottom 5 in projected points, and they ended up with like 20 points or something. And it was a pretty impressive turnout for the Giants.
Well,
Maybe you'll repeat. You know?
Their schedule was 1 point easier on a neutral field than the average team last year per game, which is a lot. There are 2 teams right now that have the same distinction right now. Can you guys name them? 2 easiest schedules by a point on average.
I think the Saints will be
the
one
Falcons
of them.
and the Falcons and the Panthers.
Uda, you are on the ball.
Oh,
Falcons and Panthers. Both teams have Sorry, it's not Falcons and Panthers. It's Falcons and Saints.
Okay.
2 easiest teams in terms of schedule. 1 point easier than the average team on a neutral. Both of them.
Savanch, do those 2 teams sound familiar to you by any chance? The Falcons and the Saints. They were the 2 teams.
I'm missing what you're laying down here.
They were the 2 last teams that I bid for in our version of this, and it's because I researched basically the NFC South had a crazy easy schedule.
That's funny. No, okay.
And that's kind of why I knew that.
Yeah, you were kind of cagey about that. You didn't even explain afterwards. I guess you're saving some insight for this thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the list of the quarterbacks that the Saints get to play this year, especially with their defense being top 5 or top 10, like especially for all the fantasy people out there that are drafting this week, like Saints defense, hammer them early. Oh, look at the Chiefs here. Expected bid of 48 going all the way up to 65.
I'm priced out. I can't bid any higher.
I'm gonna let him go. My Chiefs. Too much.
So that is the one problem with your strategy, Savanch, is that I was kind of comfortable with like, I don't know how much Tej and Eric are going to buy into what you say, but like you get priced out of the next star, you know? If you end up with too many teams early.
I feel like it's a risk I'm willing to take, right? Because now I have maybe one or both of them will be set against you. I don't know. We'll see.
You have to nominate against Savanch.
Oh, it's me. Okay, let's do... That wasn't a very interesting nomination. I didn't have time to think about it.
Yeah, we're definitely having
I'm
a
only
bias
taking-
with the
I'm only
alphabetical
taking
order
New
here.
York.
I'll just put it. I'll put the Bills at 35 because I know it'll get really high up here. They have a suggested bid of 40, and it'll go higher than that, I bet.
Yeah, I think I've noticed a pattern with all the top teams right now. KC, Philly, SF is like everybody's kind of waiting until 15 seconds, and then everyone's like, click, 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 because you don't want the price to get too
I'm
high.
kind of hoping
before the-
like I'm just hoping the three of you get carried away in conversation. I just slip one by you guys, but not worked so far.
Yeah, the
If
ticking
I-
noise is pretty loud. As it,
Yeah, so you guys got to mute yourself. That's cheating. Can't be going off the sound.
oh, you've muted Sleeper. Well, that's on you.
The Bills might be and I might be giving away the strategy here, but I just wanted to mention this. The Bills might be like the least confident people are about like a team that's coming off a 13-win season I've ever
Ever.
heard. Like,
Other
yeah.
than Minnesota, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's a contender still this year.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bills kind of, the Bills have been the best team in the league the last 2 years. But no one is willing to, everybody, they're not the flavor of the month anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, highest point differential over the last 2 seasons. Bad playoff variance, or they ran out of gas at the end of last year because of injuries and the DeMar Hamlin situation and everything. But
yeah, they caught some crappy cards too when they got the Bengals. They played the Bengals in a situation that was probably beneficial to the Bengals and not them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the audience is noticing how these two are just casually talking about the Bills as they've both just gone back and forth for the last like minute, going up, 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 up. And I'm just here staring at it. It's so tension. There's nothing in their voices that indicates they're going back and forth like semi-stressed about this. Like I'm stressed. I'm not even involved in this bidding war.
Oh, Tage, you're a sicko. You sniped them at the last moment.
All right, you can have them for 59.
This is what you and I needed though, because they were a little too rich.
Yeah,
He's gonna level the playing field.
I'm happy with the Chiefs now at 66. Like makes me feel less bad about that.
Well, no, but I think the Bills and the Chiefs have a very similar expected score in this game and like in general, and then so I think Eric got a little bit of a value there if you're working from what the Chiefs went for.
Okay, I'm gonna add something.
My Super Bowl pick that I've said on air since I was in Vegas last week is Bills Lions.
I wouldn't be able to know what to do with myself.
Kind of joking, but I'm not kind of joking. I think the Lions are gonna.
Do we want to do a quick recap? I don't know if we've been doing a good job
let's
with the audio.
Tage, do you want to go over who has what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have Savanch starting off huge early, going Jets for $21, Steelers for $19, Bengals for $37, and Eagles for $55. So he has 4 of his 8 slots filled out already with $68 left. My team has 3 of the slots filled out. I had the 49ers for $40, the Cardinals for $3, and the Browns for $32. And then Udit has the Seahawks for $23 and the Chiefs for $66. So he has $111 left with 6 slots more to fill. Eric also has 6 more slots to fill. Giants for $11, and then going big on the Bills for $59, $130 left. So Savanch has the most teams, least amount of money, and then we're all over $100 still filling out the rest of our roster here. And the Jaguars are up with a suggested bid of $28, and they're currently at about 14, so should start to rise here.
$22 the current bid on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay. Oh, a few extra dollars on the Jaguars here at the end. Do we think the Jaguars should be half as expensive as the Bills? Is a question.
Like I was looking at the spreadsheet. I think their division I think they have a much higher chance to win their division than maybe our numbers are giving them credit for. At least the ones that are in the spreadsheet right now. I think that's like a big reason for why I go for them. I see them as a very likely division winner.
Yeah, I think that the thing with the Jaguars is like they're minus money to win their own division, and they have not won the division back to back, I think, since the turn of the century. So that, people are always gonna I'm always gonna look at organizations and be like, they're on the right track, certainly, but I'm always just like a little nervous about teams that are kind of starting out, like they are.
Mm-hmm. But I think what Joe Burrow has done for the Bengals, or even like some other quarterbacks with other startup teams like that. Like, I think Trevor Lawrence could do that for the Jaguars. I don't know if he will, but I think what you saw his rookie year, where his number one skill was avoiding sacks and that awful Urban Meyer offense. And then last year, what he did the second half of the season, he adds Calvin Ridley. The offensive line is a little bit worrisome, but I think that having someone like that, and me and Parker talk about the dudes list all the time, and Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be on that eventually, is just huge for changing an organization's culture.
Exactly. It's funny because you travel through this world of analytics, and then sometimes it's literally just how many big, fast, strong, good football players does a team have? And Jacksonville is kind of stacking those players up a little bit.
Okay, so Savant's got the Saints for 22.
The Saints are a team here where
I thought the current bid was 20. So I bid pretty high. But I don't mind him at 22.
22 seems like actually look, I will never be caught dead betting Derek Carr. But that aside, that's not a bad price for the Saints.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I think their division odds to me, it's probably priced in by the difference between the Saints and the Jags. I think their division has a lot of uncertainty to me.
Yeah, they're the favorite there, but not as much as the Jags are the favorite in the South. And it's like in the NFC South, if Desmond Ridder ends up being good, then they're the best team. If Bryce Young ends up being good, then they're the best team. If Bryce Young and Frank Reich are good, then they're the best team. I don't see a path where Tampa's any good, but there is. But Tampa's had a good offseason, in my opinion, kind of cleaning stuff up after Brady. I think that there's a chance that there's a chance that division is, all three teams should be more like 3-1 than where it is currently.
Yeah, the Dolphins to me are such a hard situation because Sheil Kapadia, he loves referring to the Football Hipster Society, and I like learning about them and reading their takes on Twitter as well. And they're really high on the Dolphins this year, but their schedule and their division is so hard, it makes it rough.
Yeah, well, it's even
as a team.
It's not only the schedule in the division. It's the Dolphins have so many good players that like you mentioned, the people that really grind film, or even are really super into analytics, like David Long or Javon Holland and or Alec Ingold, even who does a lot of the dirty work for them when they're in 21 personnel. But it's they're so built on the health of these individual stars that they have, more so than other teams, that I think when you look at their roster, you really talk yourselves into them. But then when you look at their median outcome, it's a little bit more down to earth relative to other teams.
You guys are all gonna have to get out of my way while I bid for the Packers here. When we were in Vegas, literally every single show, every single panel, who are you? Every single person's high on the Packers. And I'm a little worried because the market has moved in their direction, but not as much as I would have liked. But everybody's high on the Packers, Tej.
Yeah, the preseason has really elevated them. I think it's one of those things where maybe the preseason is actually carry signal for them, because of basically actually having a new starter we've not seen in a while, or seen at all really. I don't know what to feel about them. I think I'm willing to sell against the market moving up though.
It's a rare case where the preseason served as a affirmation as opposed to an elimination, right? I think the preseason, the first time I saw Blake's season, and granted, like I'm not a quarterback whisperer or even like an analyst, but like I watched Blake Bortles' arm angle the first time I saw him throw in the preseason. I'm like, that guy's going to suck. And it's like you watch preseason, you're like, oh, that guy's slow, or oh, that guy doesn't know how to like hit a hole or something like that. And you're like, but like I've never seen preseason used as a confirmation like it has for Green Bay this spring, this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think like all the stuff that you were worried about with Jordan Love, that like you saw from like someone like Trey Lance in the preseason, he didn't show. Like we don't know if he's going to be good or anything, or if he's going to be like a top 10 quarterback, but at least you know that he's like playable and like not going to be a bottom 5 quarterback probably. So I think that's what has people so excited about the Packers. But like the other thing is, I've seen and I've looked into this a little bit with like the data and like what people say, like defenses usually are good the year that like no one expects them to be good, because you need some like variance to be a good defense. And like the Packers defense was super hyped up going into last year, weren't good because of scheme and injuries and like defensive back play. Yeah, and depending on rookies. And then like this could be the year that the Packers defense is actually good, in the year that like not as many people are talking about them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you're 100% right. It's always like defense always like sneaks up on you. And with the Packers, it was like, and I know Wyatt isn't really playing, but like last year they went into the season, oh, they drafted 2 rookies from Georgia in the first round. They're going to be amazing. And the previous year it was like Rasul Douglas had all the interceptions, and Devondre Campbell, who's our boss, Thomas Dimitroff, drafted. He was an All-Pro, and Rashawn Gary was, everybody's bet for Defensive Player of the Year, and like it didn't work out. But that doesn't mean they're not talented.
All right, Broncos
bidding on Sean Payton right now.
Up here, yeah.
Bidding on Sean Payton. That's not a bad. I mean, 13. So right now the bid is 13 for the Broncos. Don't hate it. You're going to be betting on a team to run the football a lot and play defense. Like that's always tough. But here we go. I'm going to nominate the Patriots. Once the most coveted team in something like this, but now not so much.
Yeah, Bailey Zappi's news hit me hard. I was a little
Zappy high. Funny because one of my good friends messaged me and was saying that like Bailey Zappi is like sort of thought of with derision in the league, and it kind of reminds me now. Tage, you're too young for this, but it is your favorite team. It kind of reminds me of like when Houston, the Cougars, were running the run and shoot back in the day, and like Andre Ware got drafted by the Lions, and David Klingler got drafted by the Bengals, and like both guys were terrible. And so people for the longest time were like, oh, we don't draft quarterbacks out of like these spread run and shoot style because they're just not ready for the NFL. And I feel like that's gone away to an extent, but I feel like Western Kentucky is like kind of, a high, they're putting up video game numbers to the extent where like everybody in the NFL is going to be pretty skeptical of what a quarterback does there versus somewhere else. And I've heard that around the league, that's like the thought process surrounding like, contempt for Bailey Zappi.
New England for half price. Okay.
Yeah, good for you, Udit. Good for you.
That might be the best defense in the league right there, Udit. So I like that a lot.
You're gonna get your 6 points, Udit. Good work.
All right, this one hits home to Eric.
Oh yeah, literally home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Vikings are up here. They have a suggested bid of $22, even though we haven't been following that. I'll still read those off. Eric's at 4 teams now with $84 left. I have 3 teams with $125 left. Savanch here has 6 of his 8 teams filled out, $34 left. And then Udit has 4 teams to go, $74 left. So we're all at different points right now, but going to start to fill out the rest of our rosters here.
So I have the Giants, Bills, Dolphins, Packers. Tej has Niners, Cardinals, Browns. Savanch has Jets, Steelers, Bengals, Eagles, Saints, Broncos. And Udit has Seahawks, Chiefs, Jaguars, Patriots. By the way, Udit, 3 AFC teams. And if you count the 90s, another AFC team in the Seahawks. But yeah, interesting there. Because the AFC is so much harder.
Honestly, I don't think I have any thought process on why I ended up with the Patriots, but besides, I think 9 is extremely underpriced.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Oh, I got the Vikings. Look at me. I'm buying into Kirk Cousins for the first time in my life.
I can't wait to post this on Twitter and confirm to everybody that you are more of a Vikings fan than a Chiefs fan.
I let the Chiefs go here for $66, and yes, bought the Vikings for 22 or 21 or whatever it was.
Hunter nominating.
I figure while we're doing the home tour, put up the Lions.
Yeah. I wonder if this is Tej's other teams here.
Okay, you see that?
Tej said the Browns and one other team. I'm still waiting to figure out which one that is.
True.
Well, since the Lions are my Super Bowl, my NFC Super Bowl pick, I feel like I got to belly up to the bar here and take at least a little bit of a piece here.
The main question is, and I want to hear this from you guys, or Eric first here, like who is going to be the Lions? Who's going to be second in receiving yards behind St. Brown? The weeks Jameson Williams are suspended for the Lions. That's what I'm most curious about right now going into this season.
I'm worried about Jameson Williams. I was like crazy high on him. I think they used him more in the preseason than you would expect. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's not seen a lot of game time, but
yeah, I think it's Sam Laporta or Jahmyr Gibbs, which is like speculative because they're both rookies, right? So it's not going to be easy. Savanch is almost bone dry here at $7.
I didn't expect to win that one.
Savanch got the Lions a little bit above expectations.
Surprise teams
a decent price.
Yeah, Savanch, I mean your roster's really stacked here with one team to go, $7 to go.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think I'll have much say in which team I get unless I wait you guys out. It'll probably just be whoever's left. Got to save my $7 now.
I mean, yeah, you probably can take, if you have $7 left, you can probably take pick amongst like the bottom 5. They're all going to go for probably below.
Yeah, I think that's what it'll end up being, is probably like the best last team or something.
We have our Ravens.
I think the Ravens are the other team that I would say is like the film watching society, football hipster society, whatever you want to call them, are so high in the Ravens this year, which is a lot because they've not really seen this incarnation. There's a lot of projection with like transferring this offensive coordinator from his previous places to this team, and this quarterback we've never seen in the system, but has shown like flashes of different types of things. I mean, I really enjoy hearing about it, but just from a statistical point of view, it feels hard to bet on the certainty.
So I'm going to pass on them here, and I'm going to say, is their defense like above the bottom third of the league?
Well, I think Mike McDonald gives you such an advantage, and that, like we were talking about defensive coordinators earlier, he was the only defense that really like shut down the Bengals in the second half of last season, played them 3 times and did well against them all 3 times. And then like once they got Roquan Smith, like, I mean, you don't even have to look at their EPA numbers because like they did play easier offenses, but like you could tell the defense was playing better and like the pieces fit into place more. I know like there's some injuries and some moves that they've made that have been a little bit worrisome, but I still think that he is like already emerging as like one of the best defensive coordinators in the league.
Yeah, I agree. I think that my only issue is personnel. Like they're without Houston, it left. Linebackers fine. They're of course great there. No Chuck Clark, who is kind of a glue guy on the defense. No Marcus Peters, right? No Marlon Humphrey for the first like month. It's just like, and that division, when you look at quarterbacks, wide receivers, obviously the Bengals, but the Pittsburgh, as you guys have talked about, Pittsburgh was a top 5 EPA team down the stretch last year. and they got Johnson and Pickens and the two tight ends, and then the Browns obviously have Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and David Njoku, and DPJ. Like, I just think the Ravens are going to have a harder time of it than they ever have had of it defensively, which is kind of tricky to me.
I think that's mostly true, but I do think, like as you said earlier, they do have the defensive coordinator position figured out. I think McDonald's pretty good. McDonald is pretty good, and I think that's like a big reason why I feel okay that they can weather the storm, wait till Humphrey gets back, that type of stuff.
Oh, the Titans, Parker Fleming's Titans here.
Yeah, so I just got the Chargers for 35, nominating the Titans here, who have an expected bid of 19.
Was your second team that you wanted after the Browns the Chargers, the Ravens? Or we still not gotten there yet?
No, we still haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, so it's some like true
Wow.
bargain basement hipster team then, huh? I think most of the traditionally top teams have gone.
Yeah, on our sheet here, all the top teams in like projected points except the Panthers,
Cowboys.
Falcons, and Cowboys have gone. And Falcons and Panthers are just up there because of the easy schedule we were talking about earlier. And then a lot of the like below average teams are still available here.
Whew, the Titans first. Are you gonna get the Titans for a steal, Eric? Oh, never mind.
Sorry, Eric.
I mean, I don't like the Titans. I never have, as far as maybe 2020, I had a big bet on them or something, but at $9, it feels good.
Yeah, I honestly like the Titans better at 8 than the Patriots at 9.
I mean, the Titans were a Josh Dobbs interception away from winning the division last year with being the most injured team in the league. Which
they had the 1
crazy.
seed in 2021 when they were literally the most injured team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a pretty impressive group. I think the Cowboys are the team that Tage is buying into. I'm just going to make that guess here because there's a lot to like about the Cowboys, and yet like the national media is always down on them. You'd act like they've won 12 games 2 straight years, and the media is going to act like Mike McCarthy's a bum, like I don't get it.
Yeah, Tej is showing his intent right as he said that, jumping directly to 46.
He came over the top on all of us.
I appreciate Sleeper's auto passing Savanch as soon as the bid crosses him. I like that.
No, I passed myself as soon as I bid 1. I didn't want them anyway because I had the Eagles, but I wanted you guys to kind of bid yourselves up.
Yeah, Cowboys at 46 is a good price, Tage. I like that a lot.
Yeah, the Cowboys were the other team I wanted along with the Browns. Yeah. I mean, just everything that they have. I think Dak Prescott's going to have positive regression from the interceptions, throw Brandon Cooks into the receiver room. They're doing tight end by committee, which I think is sharp in a way. And then like the defense is awesome.
Not to mention John Park and Sarah Montpelli and
that too. I mean, like, yeah, like that's gonna be really big. And like Mike McCarthy, they're gonna pass a lot, I think, because Mike McCarthy did that in Green Bay, and then they've shown that they don't trust Tony Pollard to get a full workload, which he's gonna by default this year. And then like the receivers are really good, and Dak Prescott's a good quarterback, so I'm buying the analytics movement with them as well, where high pass rate, high play action rate, high fourth down, go for it rate.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed.
They've always been that way with McCarthy, but I think it's going to be, they have more talent this year than they usually have, which I think will help.
I was kind of hoping Eric would price Tej up more, on the Cowboys. Savanch and I got priced out pretty quick, but.
Yeah, I didn't want to
There's a mode here where Tage and Eric get their pick of the last 2 teams, and we're just left with whoever we can afford.
Yeah, but I'm happy with that.
Here's a vibe for everybody that wants one.
Yeah, I mean, I only have 1 team left.
I only have
Cowboys,
2. So
Cowboys are like the last team I was interested in, but I was pretty sure my only goal was to get the price up high enough to make sure Tej had to pay a good price for them. But Eric didn't continue that, so Eric looking out for Tej yet again,
Yeah, I know it's been a common theme of my last couple of years here, so I appreciate him letting me get the Cowboys for 45.
Some B2C, B2B rivalry, collusion.
You're like, have you seen The League? You're like Ruxin right now from the show.
Okay, so we have no one's bidding more than $1 for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think them and the Broncos have had like the least early bidding excitement. I think that speaks something.
Teams that Josh McDaniels is coached
It's
at.
actually gonna go.
Yeah, I will go for $2.
I will let you have the Raiders for $2. Like,
That's so funny. Okay.
you're getting a value there, but I just don't want to root for them. Yeah, like, no offense. I just, yeah, it's.
Well, now I feel dumb getting the Cardinals for $3 at the beginning of the draft when the Raiders were going at 2.
Savanch knows that when I nominated the Cardinals first, it was entirely to bait you guys into spending more than $1 on them, because me and Savanch knew for sure that the teams at the bottom go for like $1 or $2 each, and I just wanted the Cardinals to be gone so that I couldn't end up with the Cardinals for $1. I did Savanch a favor too, because otherwise he would be ending up with the Cardinals.
I know, that makes sense. I didn't even realize. I was like, oh, like they'll get 4 or 5 wins. I'll take the 4 or 5 points there, but I didn't for $3, and I didn't realize that. Yeah, how is going to.
Honestly, we should have leaned into that more. We didn't do enough of that
distribution here. Well, after the first one, Eric and I probably learned.
Yeah, to me the bottom after that is flat. I'm happy with all of those. Yeah,
That's
I'm not
fair,
surprised
yeah.
Eric's ending up with the Washington Commanders, where he took Jahan Dotson in the last draft. I was with a part of him. That was a wild place to take him.
I'm sorry. I've only been proven right since then, because Jahan Dotson is him. They should call him Jahim Dotson.
The Commanders are a wide-tailed team to me this year.
Yeah.
Where I could actually see them ending up making like the NFC divisional round if like a couple things happen. Sam Howell, obviously, and then you get healthy snaps out of Chase Young, or they like the bottom falls out because Ron Rivera is like coaching his last year for them, and then they're sitting there and they have like a top 5 pick or something. So
yeah. So right now we're bidding Panthers, and Tage and I are going back and forth on the Panthers here. Bryce Young season.
Taj, I don't know. You're gonna see once we put in the spreadsheet, but how much you paid for the Commanders sticks out like a sore thumb with the price of all the other players that went around, or all the other teams that went around the area with the same expected points.
Well, I didn't strategize well. I guess I didn't have a good read on how the draft would go, so I had like all this extra money here to spend. Yeah.
Well, I was like, why am I paying $20 for the Commanders when I paid $11 for the Giants, who are a better team?
Yeah, and the Titans for 8. You know, the Raiders have the same basic expected win total for 2.
For 2, yeah. Yeah, I think Savanch and you had the strategy advantage here by doing this before, but that's what'll make it nice to come back next year and do this again where we know. All right, so we got 5 more teams to fill in here. Eric,
it kind of feels like Eric can pick. I think Eric, with the amount of money he has left, he can pick whichever 2 teams he wants.
Yeah,
because he has that much extra cash left over. So Eric, who do you want?
That's true.
Well, I think it's pretty. I'm taking 2, like sort of hot. I think teams that have a higher floor than they think because of the running quarterbacks. I'm taking Colts and Bears, right? Like, let's be honest.
Dude, so I did the same thing I did last time.
Which is what?
Which is that I forgot this was my last team left, and if people just don't want them, then I end up with them.
Oh, last time I saved you, huh?
but it's fine, because given that I think the 2 teams that Eric wanted were the exact same teams I wanted. Mentioned. So outside of the 3 remaining teams between Bucks, Texans, and Rams, I don't care which team I end up with.
That's fair.
All right, I'm just gonna kind of
take one.
Actually, forget it. Here we go.
All right, so Bucks just went to finish off Udit's team.
Did Sleeper just automatically give it to you?
Yeah, because I went over the top of Udit's number.
He set the number, yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
Okay, so I guess Savanch and Tej can fight out for the Texans over the Rams.
Yeah, we
They
have
both
we have
have-
Rams, Bears, and Texans left.
Oh,
to,
here's
to
what's
fill the
interesting.
final three spots.
I want the Rams over the Texans. Tej could price me out, except for the fact that he's already nominated these guys, so I can just sit back and wait. Is I guess my play.
Yeah, but he didn't know. He probably wants the
I think-
Texans by the fact that he's adjusted it.
Yeah.
it
So I
should
think
work out.
it works out for everyone. I think the last three
Yeah.
are just going to be what
Yep.
each of us want.
So the only
I guess we can just
strategy I
pass.
had going into this was targeting like mid-tier NFC teams, because the benefit for making it to the Super Bowl, the marginal benefit is higher than winning it, which I think the AFC is like drastic favorites, right? Or
Mhm.
not drastic. It's just one game, but like, I don't know. I feel like a mid-tier inexpensive team in the NFC has a better chance of snagging that 10 points than like an AFC team. Am I an
Yeah,
idiot?
I think the idea is correct, except for the fact that it's kind of flat in the NFC to where the idea is correct, but I think you can end up with mediocre NFC teams for basically nothing without that being the strategy, if that makes sense. For example, like the Bucks, the Rams, the Bears, the Colts, they all kind of went for nothing, right? So like, that's where like that's why I got rid of the Cardinals first, because I had the basic rough idea. It's like I'm happy with any of these bottom NFC teams that aren't tanking but don't have great outlooks for any price. And so as long as I remove the Cardinals from the pool, I'm happy with what I end up with.
Yeah. So do we want to, Tage, do we want to go over how the draft has gone?
Yeah, so we can each read out our teams here. If you want to start, and we'll go
Sure.
left to right.
Eric, if
also,
you-
if you hit that
Eric
down
presses
arrow,
the
it'll
down arrow
show.
button. Yeah.
There we go. All right. So I Laplace Football have taken the Giants for $11, the Bills for $59, the Dolphins for $19, the Packers for $27, the Vikings for $20, the Titans for $8, the Colts for $19, which is just like a bit up, and the Bears for $15. So 3 NFC North teams, by the way.
And you still ended up with $22.
$22 left.
And still finished with $20. Yeah, so I went with the 49ers for $40, the Cardinals for $3, the Browns for $32, the Chargers for $35, the Cowboys for $45, the Commanders for $17, the Panthers for $19, and the Texans for $1. I hope I got 2 of the top 3 teams in the NFC. So like if the Eagles don't make the Super Bowl and like it's the 49ers or Cowboys that do, then like I like my chances. But again, like, yeah, my strategy with kind of how I handled the Cardinals and the Commanders and Panther situations was something that I wish I did better for sure.
I got the Jets for 21, the Steelers for 19, Bengals for 37, Eagles for 55, Saints for 22, Broncos for 12. I got Eric's Super Bowl pick, the Lions for 27, second to last there, and then Rams for 1. So I got the only divisional overlap I have is actually Steelers and Bengals. So I have 7 of the divisions with the AFC South not being represented. So yeah, Eagles, Saints, Lions in the NFC, and the Rams in the NFC. So I guess I even have an even NFC-AFC split there.
For me, I got the Seahawks for 23, the Chiefs for 66, the Jags for 28, Patriots for 9, Ravens for 34, Falcons for 19, Raiders for 2, and the Bucks for 1. I think I don't have any really NFC contender for the Super Bowl in my team. Tail chance maybe for the Seahawks, but I do feel pretty good about getting the AFC a good amount of points on the AFC side here. One thing I am looking at, which is like the amount of cash left over as a group for us right now, and I think that goes back to the point that Savanch said at the beginning, which is like we probably didn't bid enough for the best teams still, right? Like right now, my regrets are like letting the maybe the Browns or the Cowboys get away from me. Having more money on those like top end picks that you have like high certainty, have that chance of getting to the divisional conference, might be good. It might have been a better strategy. Eric, do you want to switch over to the spreadsheet really quickly to take a look at our expected scores?
Yep. Let's go ahead and look at now this spreadsheet is a little bit dated, I think, right? As far as what the odds are, but you can kind of look at where we have the numbers as
Can
of
you go to
a
scoring?
recent simulation.
Can you click scoring on the second tab?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will update the expected scores and when we tweet this out. But if you scroll down to projected scores on the left side, Eric, you can kind of get an idea. So I would say there's maybe a bit of a
Okay,
strategic.
no.
Yeah, so I do see we see this a little bit of the strategic advantage that maybe Savanch and I, with the experience we have here, coming out with playing to the board. But I will say maybe after we update the projections after a few weeks, this projected scores can change a lot, and maybe Tej and Eric's superior knowledge about football and like actually building these models out and following the NFL more closely than Savanch and I, there might be an edge there that's not captured right now.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
true, 'cause
I do
like,
think
my
that
experience with, like,
Savanch
autograph
had the best
games-
strategy.
Sorry,
Well, I
you
think
go.
the
Go
other
ahead.
aspect of this is that I'm the least professional football analyst here. So like I know in some of my leagues, the auto draft teams are always like the highest projected teams because I just followed the market more than you guys did. I know you guys have some against the grain picks, so if there's
Did
some
you just
signal
call
there,
Eric
then I
an
think this
auto
projected
drafter?
score is going to get inverted.
I think you
No,
just
I'm
called Eric
saying
an auto
like in my
drafter.
experience in other auto draft leagues, like auto draft teams like follow the market more, and so like they're always projected to do better than like people who kind of go against the grain. And so I was the equivalent of auto draft market.
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty big opinion on the Packers and the Bills, and like that's kind of where I'm pushing it forward a little bit. But I think our simulation is above market on Packers and Bills too, so it should be reflected in projected scores. I think honestly, my thought of going after NFC teams, because I think that there's wins that like they need to like. The NFC, unless they go, really bad against the AFC, there's just a lot of wins that we don't know where to distribute them. And so I'm choosing to have it kind of go to the NFC North, where I think there are good coaches and stuff. But from a projection sense, it wasn't optimal for sure because I'm buying, I'm buying low on some teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'll see how
I
it
think
plays
like
out.
Savanch had probably like the most optimal strategy for like this specific game here, where he was able to stack up on high expected point teams early and then let us kind of like fight out over some other teams. I mean, like he did get the Bengals for 37, which is like one of the better values. Probably the Saints because of the easy schedule and everything we talked about for 22 again, like something like that. When you look at like some of the bids later on, I think that reflects in the expected score. But it'll be cool that the sumersports.com, the league table will get updated every week with new projections, and we can kind of follow along how our scores and expected scores change over the course of the season.
Well, awesome. This was fun, guys. I really enjoyed this. It was a good time. I honestly didn't know if it was going to be less than an hour, but we got it through. So that was pretty good. Great job hosting, Tej, and it was fun, Udit and Savanch, for you guys to come along and show us the ways.
Thanks for having me on.
It was great. Hope everyone enjoys drafting their fantasy teams this week and this Labor Day weekend, because this is the most popular time to do it. I'm glad that we were able to do a draft of our own here. I appreciate you guys, Udit and Savanch, for letting us know about this idea and setting up the spreadsheet and everything.
Awesome. Perfect. So I can't remember what episode number this is of the Sumer Sports Show. I believe 95. So for Tej Seth, for Savanch, for Udit, for Eric, this has been the Sumer Sports. So thank you all for coming. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.